This was the hardest thing I've ever filmed. We were up in the mountains of New Mexico for 13 months.
We shot in snow at 10,000 feet. It was brutal.
This shoot has taken every ounce of my body and soul and emotional being.
I'd never done anything like this before.
We are picking up some major energy on a new show on Netflix. It's a Western, and it's called American Primeval. Now, when I first heard about it, it didn't even sound like a Western title. I thought it was a zombie show or something. But the events portrayed in that show actually turn out to be true. And this major hit, we were going to just do a review of it in the current issue of True West and then move on. But as the events, the reaction has mounted up, we decided that we need to do an entire issue on this. So we kicked the review into the next issue of True West. And here's what you can expect to find. We've joined forces with our movie film editor, and that is Henry Park. And he's interviewed the crew and the production team behind it. And if you've watched the film, you know that at the beginning, Netflix not only says violence, but they also have the word gore. This is a kind of in-your-face Western that you've not seen in a long time. As a matter of fact, you might have seen a little bit of it in a movie from 2014 called The Revenant, which is a Leonardo DiCaprio film. That film, The Revenant, actually won 3 Academy Awards, and Leonardo DiCaprio starred as Hugh Glass, the mountain man who survived a grizzly bear attack. Well, the guy who wrote that, Mark L. Smith, he actually teamed up with Peter Berg for this new film. And so they're kind of cousins in a way, but they've really amped up the violence, or I should say the action. It is very violent, a lot of tomahawks in the face. When they have incoming arrows on the wagon train fight, it sounds more like a mortar attack on Al Qaeda in Tora Bora in Afghanistan rather than a Western. But it really, really works in a visceral way. So this is new territory for the Western. And of course, everyone's wondering about the inciting incident, which is known as the Mountain Meadows Massacre. And this is a tragic event, terrible time in our history. Took place in Utah on September 11th, 1857. And there's an excellent documentary about this, the Mountain Meadows Massacre, written and produced by our own Paul Andrew Hutton. I highly recommend that you see it if you want to see the backstory. He's working with us and with Henry Park to be able to show the two sides of what actually happened and how much of this outrageous film. It's got like 28 million views so far, and it appears to be a giant success. Well, like I said, the action is really, really good. It's very, very strong. And that's what drew us to figuring out how we can use this in our own way. Now, one of the things that we battle at True West is our editor, Stuart Rosebrook, he said, our job is how do we get people under the age of 70 to come through the door? And he's really talking about me because I'm like a couple years over that age level. And so he called me and said, my son, who's a millennial, his name is Jeb, and he loves the show. And I said, well, would you let me talk to him? And here's what his son, a millennial, said. Quote, I have not watched such an incredible narrative Western such as this for a long time. Lawless lands ruled by separate groups, military, cultural, religious, and those out for personal gain, even if that means murder. Overall, an incredible series, which I'm sure will continue to impress. And need I say, he's under the age of 7. He's a millennial. So this is exciting to us because we finally got something going to get more people involved in what we love, which is the true history of the Old West. Now, I mentioned about the violence in it.
What's your plan, friend, huh? You gonna take her back east to let? The way I see it, my helping you transport something that's of value is this sure worth more than $100.
The one thing that I didn't really like about the show, and this is me personally, is I grew up not very far south from the actual Mountain Meadows Massacre site, which is in southwest Utah near Cedar City and Zion Park. It's down in that quarter of the country. Well, I grew up in Kingman, and of course, I grew up with a lot of LDS people and kids. And in fact, my extended family, I have several Mormons in the family. So I was not overjoyed with the portrayal of Brigham Young as kind of an oily villain in this thing. I thought it was the weakest part. But here's the thing. There is evidence, and Will Bagley's best-selling book, Blood of the Prophets, spells out what he feels that Brigham Young was the head of a theocracy and that he had some serious issues on this. So it's legitimate. It just wasn't my favorite part of the show. Now, one of the other things that's so spectacular about this show is, and I haven't seen this in a Western ever, okay? And that is in the first opening minutes, we meet a Shoshone Two Moons, who is portrayed by Shawnee Poirier, and then she steals a knife. Later, she goes back to her Hogan, where her drunken father attempts to get friendly with her again, and she carves him up with the knife she stole, while her mother cries that now they have nothing. Now, this is nothing short of extraordinary because for at least 4 decades now, we've had Westerns where you cannot show a Native American inebriated. You can't show them being negative. They're all really, it's honky guilt is what it is. And I'm a honky and I can say that. But that scene, that if there was no other scene that they portrayed, that is worth the price of admission right there because it's so honest and it's so bold. And I think one of the things that's so exceptional about the series is no one's innocent. You know, the Americans aren't innocent. The LDS leadership is not innocent. The people who live in South Utah, that's speaking about all of us. If you want to meet a true villain, go look in the mirror. I think that's what the show would say. And according to Mark Smith, who wrote this, while he was researching The Revenant about Hugh Glass, he ran across Jim Bridger. And we're going to join forces with the #1 biographer of Jim Bridger to do our coverage in the issue coming up that we're going to dedicate the entire issue to the phenom of this show and how much of it is true. So if you want to check out what's really happening there, stay tuned for True West coming this summer.
Safe in this world. No God. No creator to ask for help. We do what we have to do.
He really believes in it.
I know it. There's war brewing in this territory. Heading west is a mistake.
I have no choice.
Do you feel bad killing men?
Not the bad ones.
We are the chosen! Why do you people have so much hunger to kill?
Fear.